The National Association of Realtors has reached an agreement to resolve a major class action lawsuit. We're going to cover that and the impact that has on the veteran community. And we're already in a higher rate environment. We are in a low inventory environment, and competition is already high. And this is just the beginning of the year. Who knows what's going to happen over the summertime, which kind of leads to that question of should you buy or should you wait? And I think this video is going to have an impact on that decision. So let me give you some background to the lawsuit and kind of what the settlement is about and the impact that it has from a veteran using a VA loan specifically for purchasing a property. So there was a lawsuit called the Sitzer-Burnett versus the National Association of Realtors and the top 5 real estate brokerages in the country. Right, the verdict came down a couple months ago. That's basically costing the National Association of Realtors $418 million. That's definitely not chump change. So the point of the lawsuit particularly is concerning the practices around real estate brokerage commissions and the impact that it has on the veteran community, which is going to be pretty significant. So the proposed settlement, like in a nutshell, what they're trying to do is to release liability for all its members, associations, and the multiple listing services. Those are the services that actually list the property and you could search for it, like let's say on realtor.com. The MLS, that's where all the associations post to the multiple listing service. And they also want to preserve consumer choice in regards to real estate services and compensation. The big impact that this is going to have is that, right now, typically, sellers pay a buyer a co-op fee. So you used to see agents advertise, their services are free because buyers didn't have to pay for their service, because when they found them a home, the seller would pay them a co-op fee, right? So that's what that is. This new lawsuit is changing that, right? This is kind of like the big catch that nobody understands is that with your VA home loan, when you use the VA loan to purchase a property, the realtor cannot charge you a real estate commission. And if they're not getting a co-op, right? So if people start electing to say, well, we're not going to have the buyers, we're not paying the buyer's agent, the buyers need to pay the buyer's agent a fee. Well, veterans can't do that. So let me give you the exact verbiage from the VA handbook, which is found on page 296, Section 3, subsection C, right? Where it says brokerage services. So fees or commissions charged by real estate agent or broker in connection with the VA loan may not be charged to or paid by the veteran purchaser. While using a buyer broker is not prohibited, veterans purchasing may not under any circumstance be charged a brokerage fee or commission in connection with the services of such individuals. Since information on property availability for purchase and financing options is widely available to the public from a variety of sources, VA does not believe that this would prevent the veteran from paying buyer broker fees will harm the veteran. Now, this is kind of the real world challenge of that. Yes, there's plenty of companies that are out there, but majority of transactions are conducted by realtors. Now, and everyone's situation is different, right? Like I do this every day, day in, day out. I could talk real estate like it's my job because it is. But I still end up using an agent for both purchases that I did in the last couple of years, just because for some people it's a time thing. I don't have time to schedule set up showings. And then the same thing, if sellers are selling their own property, then they have to do that. There's a lot of late work, especially if you're working with a good agent. They do a lot for you. But a lot of people believe they don't do too much until you go under contract. Then you kind of see how much actually goes into it and what you need to know. You can go either way. A lot of people are very successful at for sale by owner. So those are all things that you want to be able to consider. But the challenge, though, is that if you are using a realtor, and you are using your VA home loan, and the sellers are not offering a co-op to the buyer's agent, then that agent is not going to get paid because you cannot pay, like the VA says, under any circumstances, a real estate commission fee. Now, will that change down the line? I'm really not sure because I've reached out and talked to the VA about that. That does require significant movement to be able to change that. So we may see that in the coming year or next year. But more of the point of the video is that, when you're looking at the landscape and how it's changing down the line, if a seller has an option of making more money than not, most of the time they will take that. It's like when you're making offers in a competitive market, it's highest and best, right? So if a property is listed for $500,000 and someone comes in and makes an offer for $700,000, the $700,000 is going to win. And there's a lot of attention to this particular lawsuit and the settlement and how things are changing, where I believe sellers are going to start looking at this over the next year. They're going to start looking at their bottom line because when they're purchasing properties, they have a higher cost. So it's going to have a domino effect, I think, overall for consumers purchasing properties, no matter what type of loans that they're using. Maybe there'll be a solution that comes out that specifically targets for sale by owner and makes that process a little bit smoother. There's already some resources out there, but from my research and looking at them, it's just not as easy as you would think to navigate that, just because of how many factors go into like creating the contract. You have to find your own title company. You have to do a lot of that legwork for you, which otherwise would be there instead. But you could also assume mortgages like VA and FHA loans. Also makes that a little bit easier, but also adds a layer of complexity to the whole situation. So there's definitely a lot of things to think about, and hopefully this helps you in that decision. If you guys can hit the like and subscribe button, appreciate it. And let me know if you guys have any questions, and I'll talk to you soon.